there's two ways to cut a lawn. One is to take a razor blade and go out there on your hands and knees and cut every little sprig of grass. The other way is to go and take a lawnmower. Back, forth, back, forth. Which one is going to make the lawn look smoother, neater? Which one is going to take less time? Overall, which one is going to be easier work? The answer is the use of the lawnmower. We all agree that it would be a lot harder to cut the lawn with a razor blade. Did that necessarily then make hard the best approach? Answer is no. I'm not saying that we're not going to run hard and you're not going to run with guts on certain days, but the point is let's be smart about the way we're doing the work and not just assume that all hard work is good work. What happens is we believe that progress is linear. And I think that you can say, after your experiences in building this company, BPN, that the progress has not always been linear. It doesn't go from the bottom left to the top right in a nice straight line, straight up every day. Now, you're striving to get 1% better every day, but that 1% doesn't necessarily actually mean you're going to get 1% faster every day. Did I get better at recovery? Did I get better at nutrition? Did I get better at the mental aspects of this sport? Let's not ever lose what makes us quintessentially human. Our ability to feel. Our ability to know what pain is versus not. I asked a guy the other day, would you know the difference between hot and cold? He says, well, yes. I do you know the difference between up and down? Yes. We need to know what easy is, and you should be able to feel it.
This marathon prep is our way of helping you reach your goals by showing you what we are doing to accomplish ours. Throughout this series, leading up to the Buffalo, New York Marathon, we will provide you the tools, resources, and knowledge to PR your next race. Training as a hybrid athlete has taught me so much about endurance, from marathons, an Ironman triathlon, and 100-mile ultra trail races. I'm now setting the goal to run a sub 250 marathon. It's time to lean in and go one more.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of our marathon prep series. So in this episode, we are talking about the 5 pillars of marathon training. And these are just the 5 pillars that we have personally identified. Number 1, easy runs. Number 2 is speed work, or more specifically, lactate threshold work. Number 3, nutrition. Number 4, rest and recovery. And number 5, strategic progress. Throughout this video, we're going to dive deep into each pillar. If there's 2 things that you could do to ruin a marathon prep and build, this would be it. 1, you're not running your easy runs easy enough. You're not running below your max aerobic heart rate. And I get it. It's really easy to overrun your easy runs. The second thing you can do to ruin that prep is increase mileage or volume too quick, too much. So for example, my daily easy run, 10, 11 miles, might not be your daily easy run. Do not try to increase weekly volume more than 10% from the previous week. What that does, one, it allows for your body to acclimate and adjust and properly build into your fitness, and also helps avoid risk of injury, overuse, getting hurt, and it takes you out of the entire prep altogether. So those two things, super important to be cognitive of. So my daily easy run, which is done 4 to 5 times each week for this training block, is between 9 and 11 easy miles. And we follow this principle called the 80-20 rule, meaning that 80% of your training should be done easy, spent aerobically, lower heart rate, slower pace, easy miles. That other 20% is spent on speed work, tempo work, threshold work, critical velocity, maybe spent on the track. And your body doesn't know pace. So how do we spend this 80% of training? What are these easy runs? Well, our body knows two things. It knows effort. Effort in terms of perceived effort. How does this feel on a scale of 1 to 10? And then 2, heart rate. Our body knows and uses and loves heart rate. So you should be training below your max aerobic heart rate for 80% of these runs, for these easy runs. I'm gonna show you how to calculate that. So the Math 180 formula. This is going to help you identify your max aerobic heart rate. So the equation is 180 minus your age equals max aerobic heart rate. So for me, I am 31 years old. 180 minus 31 equals 149. That is 149 beats per minute. And what that tells me is I don't want my heart rate to go above 149 beats per minute while I'm running these easy runs. And I'll back that off about 10 beats per minute. So anywhere from 139 to 149 beats per minute is what I'm trying to achieve for these easy runs. Now, how do you monitor that? Through your heart rate. I don't recommend monitoring your heart rate through your GPS watch that is pulling from your wrist. It is very inaccurate. What I do recommend doing is using a chest strap heart rate monitor. Any chest strap heart rate monitor that will sync to your watch, and you just wear it across your chest, and then you can identify on your watch what your heart rate is as you're running. So you can check your heart rate every 1 to 3 minutes to make sure you're in the appropriate range to stay in that aerobic base building phase. Now, one thing I do want to identify that you will learn over time is you don't necessarily have to rely on the chest strap heart rate monitor. I used to wear this all the time in the beginning. I don't wear it as much anymore because I can now feel through a perceived effort of what an easy run is supposed to feel like. It should be conversational. As you saw when I was on the treadmill, I could talk fluid through paragraphs in conversation to you guys on the other side of the camera. So use the chest strap heart rate monitor as a tool, but you don't necessarily have to always rely on it because you will learn what that effort feels like.
talking about is lactate threshold training, right? And so for you, that would be at paces anywhere from 6:15 to 6:25 a mile. We can be really, really, really exacting with it, but we also need to understand that on some level, it's a bit of an imprecise science. What if there's a 1% uphill grade on the street? What if it is 85% humidity? What if there is a stiff headwind? So there's some leeway here on how we characterize lactate threshold training, even critical velocity training for that matter, when we start looking at environmental factors and the fact that there's just some leeway here. I mean, as long as we're in the right zone, we're in the right sort of training area, so to speak, physiologically, we're going to get the gains without having to be so neurotically married to pace that we create a sense of failure if a repeat or a mile is 4 seconds slower than what was written down on paper. But generally speaking, for you, we're looking at 6:15 to 6:25 pace will be lactate threshold training for you. Well, we know that dumps lactate into your blood, and that the more you train at lactate threshold training and your body becomes efficient at clearing that lactate from your blood, then the more efficient you're going to be at running farther, running faster.
All right, so we are on a 2-minute rest right now before going into the rest of the workout. We're 10 miles in so far. Today is a lactate threshold or tempo workout. And what today looks like is a 2-mile warm-up at an 8-minute per mile pace. That was already done. And then a 7-mile tempo run at a 6:20 minute per mile pace. And then a 1/4 mile jog. And then 1 mile at a 6:10 minute per mile pace, 2-minute rest that we're in right now, and then 4 800-meter repeats, each at around 250, 255 each. So like a sub 6 minute per mile pace with a 1 minute and 30-second rest in between, and then a 2-mile cool down. So it's a big block today, but that 7-mile tempo felt really good. Now into 800-meter repeats. So I got 2 more 800s. That first one was a 255. Second one was a 259, a little slower. So we'll try to really stay below 255 for these last 2. I hit the splits on the 7-mile tempo like butter. Felt great. That was the fastest I've moved for the longest distance in quite some time. Probably about a year. All right, we got 20 seconds. These right here, these are the workouts that make you faster. Your track workouts, your tempo, your threshold. That's where you really refine. You build your base aerobically. Here we go. The third one was a 255, right where we want to be. We got one more. So far we've vlogged about 12 miles in this workout. tell you what, that was a solid workout and a really good confidence booster at this point of the prep so far. Now, one really important thing I want to identify for specifically workouts like this, like big workouts that have bigger efforts, faster paces, fueling is absolutely necessary. And in the next pillar, we're going to talk all about nutrition. So let's talk about nutrition. And when we think about nutrition, we think about our daily diet, what we're consuming for breakfast, lunch, dinner, meals 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on how many meals you're consuming on a daily basis, which is very important. Consuming and choosing high quality sources of protein, carbohydrates, and dietary fat. But I also want to talk about the importance of nutrition in terms of fueling for your workouts. If you think about it in terms of going on a long road trip with your family, you're not going to go on this long road trip with your family without putting enough fuel or gas in your vehicle. You're going to fuel up before you leave, and then you're going to fuel up throughout the trip as you're running low on fuel. Think of the same thing applied to your nutrition and your workouts. And this becomes really important depending on what that workout looks like. For example, if I have a big tempo threshold speed workout that consists of some marathon paced splits and some 800 meter repeats, and the total volume for that workout is 9 to 14 miles, I want to make sure my body is primed in fuel to perform at its highest level. I don't want to be running on fumes. This doesn't just consist of what you're consuming before the workout starts and during, but being aware of what you're consuming the day prior. Choosing quality sources, quality and quantity, enough of carbohydrates, protein, fat, staying on top of hydration in terms of water intake and electrolyte intake. This is what I personally use before and during my training sessions, especially the big workouts. G1M Sport. G1M Sport is our endurance formula. It is 20 grams of carbohydrates per serving in the form of cluster dextrin, which is very fast gastric emptying, and 350 milligrams of sodium plus a full electrolyte profile. This is per serving. So before a big workout, I'll have about 2 scoops, maybe 30 minutes to an hour before that workout starts. And then during the workout, I will have 2 bottles, 1 or 2 bottles, depending on how big the workout is. And each bottle will have an additional 2 scoops of G1M Sport. That way I have 40 grams of carbs, 700 milligrams of sodium in my body before getting started. And then I can keep fueling during the workout to make sure I can perform at my highest level. And if it's a really big workout, I'll consume some whole food before that as well with the G1M Sport, like an English muffin or a bagel with a banana, peanut butter, honey, just making sure I get enough in. This is one concern and issue I find with endurance athletes, is that many times they are underfueled and undernourished for big training sessions, and they don't get everything out of it that they possibly can. Nutrition is key. Now, one question I do get is, how do you carry your fuel on these long training runs? Like these weekend runs that could be 14, 16, 18 miles. I like to use a handheld, this is by Nathan, handheld water bottle. So what I'll do is I'll mix up my G1M Sport, and then I will just pour about 15 ounces of fluid with 2 scoops into the handheld, and I will carry that for my fuel during my training session or during my big workouts. And that is how I do it. All right, so pillar number 4 is rest and recovery. And as much as sleep and nutrition plays into that role, rest and recovery is not just sitting around and resting. It involves active recovery. And one of the things we do every week is Dr. Scott comes here on Tuesdays and adjusts everyone on the BPN team. So I'm here for my weekly adjustment.
Nice, and then a rib for T2, right there. Nice. And then the infamous bear hug, right there. Let's have you turn on over. And then...
This one right here was actually named after me.
Like Preston.
No shit, yeah. This is my favorite one.
So we go this direction. Right there, breath in. And then all the way up.
Oh yeah. Man. That one always opens me up real nice.
You almost went through the table on that one. Good, you can stay right there. Let's check this. Oh yes, and then a little bit more up. Bring you over this way. And so we can kind of turn a little bit to the right. There it is.
So the day that I turned 30 years old, which was like a year and a half ago, I started getting these constant headaches. And it's when my endurance training was really building up. A lot of these tension headaches. And I felt really tight up top. So I found Dr. Scott, started going to Dr. Scott on a regular basis, and all of those headaches went away. So what I'd love you to talk about is why getting adjusted is so important for optimum performance, and especially with endurance athletes.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things about chiropractic is that it's all about the nervous system. And that you always have stress on your body, whether it's physical stress from running a ton of miles, mental stress and emotional stress from running a business and just living your life. So all this stress can start to have negative impacts on your body. So if your nervous system is healthy, meaning that your brain and your body are able to communicate effectively through your spinal cord, then you're able to overcome those stresses more. So it doesn't eliminate those stresses altogether, but it helps you adapt to those stresses more so you can continue to perform and you can continue to recover. So getting adjusted is super important if you want to adapt. And adaptation is key. So make sure you guys are getting adjusted like this guy.
Once a week, every week. Now, talking rest and recovery, I'm gonna focus on 3 things. 1 is sleep, 2 is nutrition, and 3 is active recovery. And in terms of recovery, it's best to be proactive rather than reactive. Reactive is you're already overtrained or you have an injury and you're throwing the whole kitchen sink at it. It's best to build in these consistent routines into your recovery protocols to minimize risk of these injuries or overuse. So if we're talking sleep, there are a few things I've done in terms of sleep to improve recovery and have better sleep. Sometimes we don't get more hours of sleep. We don't get a higher quantity of. We don't get the 7 or 8 hours that we need. But how do we improve the quality of? One of the things you can do is build in consistent routines, going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time. This is one thing that I build in at least Monday through Friday, or I try to. You can also use some supplements around sleep to relax and wind down in the evening and have a deeper sleep and wake up feeling more rested. Some of those supplements I've been using for a long time now are magnesium, 5-HTP, and Levagen Plus. Consuming those before you go to sleep to have a deeper, higher quality sleep and wake up feeling better. And one thing that I highly recommend using, I started using this, I'd say about 18 months ago. It's called the Chili Sleep Pad Oler. And I purchased this because I was finding I was sweating in the middle of the night. I was waking up and I was hot. So it's this machine, you put next to your bed, you fill it with water, and it circulates water on this pad across your mattress. And you can set the temperature on this machine to sleep on a cooler mattress pad. I set mine every night to 59 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't wake up sweaty anymore. I have a deeper, higher quality sleep. It has improved my sleep so much, and I highly recommend it. talking about nutrition. We previously talked about nutrition in terms of fueling and recovery. And I think sleep and nutrition go hand in hand. It's not just consuming foods around your training to support your goals and your performance, but also influencing and promoting recovery the other hours of the day and night that you're not training. Getting in enough protein, carbohydrates, dietary fat, especially dietary fat, and good sources of whole, non-processed food sources, and that are nutrient dense and rich to, one, fuel your body, but promote recovery so you can go into the next training sessions just as strong as the previous one. And then talking about active recovery. This can be things such as cold plunges, sauna, myofascial release. I love using lacrosse balls on spots of my legs or glutes or hamstrings and the bottom of my feet that are really tight. I'll use a foam roller. I'll do some dynamic and static stretching, as well as use a Theragun. If you have access to, like we showed Dr. Scott, our chiropractor that comes in every week, or deep tissue massage. Every Wednesday we bring in Brent, the massage therapist for BPN, and he does a deep tissue massage on anyone that needs it for that week. Just getting some active recovery and breaking up tight parts of the muscles that need to be worked out. Being proactive with your recovery techniques and protocols is super important. You don't want to get to a recovery state. Stay ahead of it, stay on top of it, and be stronger. Here is the Chili Sleep Pad Uller. So what I do before I go to sleep every night is I turn it on, and as you can see, mine is set to 59 degrees, so it'll get down to 59 degrees once it cools down, and water goes from this machine back through that tube, and the tube goes on this mattress pad that's on top of the mattress under the sheets, and it circulates cold water on the bed throughout the night. The dogs also love it just as much as I do. Strategic progress. Now, this is what people think it looks like. This is expectations versus reality. You have time, it's the amount of time you are training. Say right here is the beginning of your prep, right here is your marathon. And it's expected that as time increases, your speed also increases, and it is completely linear. Completely linear. You have to go into a prep with realistic expectations. And this is reality. This is what it probably looks like. So again, we have the beginning of prep, your marathon, your speed. You might get faster, volume, intensity, density increases, and then you hang out there for a little bit. You just hang out and build fitness. And then you go into another build where again, volume's increasing, density, intensity increases, and you hold for a little bit. Here, you might have a deload where you're decreasing volume, allowing your body to recover, or you might be just going through a bad couple of days where life is hitting you hard. Family life is crazy, you're not sleeping as much, work is stressing you out, and your performance decreases. And then you come out of that little rut or your deload's over, and again, volume, intensity, density increases, you hang out there for a little bit. And you can see that the reality of it is the progress is not linear. You have ups, you have downs, you have improves, you have declines, but over the course of that build, whether that's 16, 18, 20, however long your prep is, you should see a correlation between time and speed and getting faster and improving. One of the things that can absolutely kill your strategic progress is this bad boy right here. This is ego. Going into a prep or a race with too much ego, being that you're being too ambitious for the goal that you want time-wise, you're destroying yourself on your easy runs, you're running too hard, you're not sticking to the plan for the workouts. Now, in the beginning of your endurance career or diving into, you might be able to make some bigger gains. It's like being in the gym. You just first start working out and you see strength gains and muscle gains a whole lot faster. And then after you've been doing it for a longer period of time, it takes a whole lot more to get small amounts of gains. So maybe your first marathon you ever run is 5 hours, and your second one is 4 hours. And just through some implementations of training programming and structures, you've seen this massive PR, a 1 hour PR. But then after that, you go for, say, your next PR of your next race, and you go from a 4 hour marathon to maybe a 3:45, and then a 3:45 to 3:30, and 3:30 to 3:15. That is being strategic. That is being realistic. Choosing a time that you want to achieve for that PR, and then training for that time. Being strategic with the progress and having realistic expectations going into what that prep is going to look and feel like. All right, guys, thanks for watching this video, and make sure to check out episode 2 of Marathon Prep, which is right here, to learn more about VO2 max, lactate threshold, and how to PR your next race.